and the crowd just buzzing with excitement.
On 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN, a Friday edition of the show. Sixers lose a game that we probably should have saw coming. You know, sometimes we need to go with your gut instinct, and last night was a perfect example of that. You know, I let myself get talked out of it yesterday, made the wrong call, paid the price. So we'll get into the state of the Sixers this hour. Plus, we're going to go get some perspective on the NFL draft combine from somebody who knows the process of the NFL, former NFL linebacker, Pro Bowler, and Super Bowl champion KJ Wright will join us coming up in less than 20 minutes from now. As always, you can also join the conversation at 609-403-0973 and your DMs in the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And I just stated momentarily, just a moment ago, I should say, we should have known the Sixers were going to lose that game because we talked about it last night here on 97.3 about how, let's be realistic, teams on back-to-backs on the road rarely win. So you've already had history going against you. But you know what else was against you last night? Luka and Kyrie. Those two arguably had one of the most amazing duo games I can remember. It felt like they couldn't miss all night. No matter what you did, no matter what was going on around them, it just felt like they couldn't miss a single shot. So that's one of those nights, you know what you do? You tip your hat. You say, you know what? Kyrie Irving, Mavs, good job. I respect you. I appreciate you. I get it. You're that good. You shot over 50% from three. I mean, that's impressive. So I don't think that's a game last night that you point to and you say the Sixers should have won that game or it's a bad loss. No, it's a loss that we should have saw coming if we didn't get talked out of it by someone like, you know, our guest yesterday, Matt Yeomans from Veasan. He's trying to tell us, hey, you know, don't take the Mavericks. I don't trust the Mavs. Well, last night you should have trusted the Mavs because they were absolutely on fire. And here's part of the problem, okay? Part of the problem is the fact that the Sixers, like many NBA teams, I don't know how many of you listening to the sound of my voice are familiar with the rest of the league as much as I am, but I can tell you from watching the rest of the league that you have a situation where basically the teams that make the most threes are winning most nights of the season. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the best teams in the league all are high-level shooting teams. Like when you really break it down, the team that averages the best three-point shooting in the NBA is the Denver Nuggets. I mean, are we really surprised? Golden State Warriors are up there. Not surprising. Sixers are basically barely ahead of the Celtics in this category. The only team on this list that's an anomaly of the best three-point shooting teams in the NBA is Brooklyn, because half the year they had Durant and Kyrie, so that's a completely different dynamic. And Portland, who, if we're being completely honest, Portland is just a team that doesn't have a lot of big man talent and doesn't play great defense, but they still have some really good players, especially Damian Lillard. But the rest of the teams on the top list of three-point shooting teams, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Sixers, the Celtics, the Suns, the Clippers, And oh, and by the way, the Mavs, they're all playoff teams. Not a coincidence. So I chalked last night up to you got beat by a better team for that one night. Now, tomorrow night, I think is going to be much more interesting than what we saw last night, because I felt like at times the Sixers, they were a little gassed. Back-to-back nights. It looked like some of the guys who played well in Miami didn't have their full legs under them. Joel Embiid looked like he was a little mentally not there fully. So, I don't know how poorly or, what their flight situation was, how much sleep some of them got once they got into Dallas before the next day. But I suspect that there probably were some variables that go into why that game, they never found their way in the game. And I think that's a huge part of the conversation with that. Now, tomorrow night's game versus the Bucks, you can hear it on 97.3 ESPN coverage, begins following Duke in North Carolina, part of our 3 basketball games on the radio tomorrow. I think that when you look at Milwaukee is the team that a lot of people feel like, and I'm not saying I'm one of them, but they feel like that's a team that you can be had. Basically, they're a team that you can go out and take advantage of. The reason I disagree with that is because of another side of the truth, which is Milwaukee is the defending champion. The Milwaukee Bucks, the majority of their team was on that championship roster. Boston, they got to the NBA Finals and lost to the Warriors. Milwaukee got to the finals and beat the Suns. I think it's a little bit different vibe if you go into Milwaukee and you take that team. Maybe you don't blow them out. I'm not saying the Sixers got to blow them out, but you got to take it to them. You got to say, look, we know that you are a team with championship level success and pedigree. We're going to show you we're not afraid of you. I think it's a huge part of the conversation with the Sixers in Milwaukee tomorrow night. And the other thing is they got to find a way to get everyone on the same page. You go back to Saturday, right? Tobias Harris has a really good first half, struggles in the second half. James Harden and Embiid combined for 10 turnovers on Monday. But then they come out and they're gangbusters and they're running up and down the floor and they're banging shots left and right. It felt like the Sixers were they were full power, basically. And last night they weren't. So can this team use this day off in between going to from Dallas to Milwaukee to recharge the batteries? We'll find out. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. You could DM the show. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle. Don't forget, love KJ Wright, former NFL linebacker, Super Bowl champion, joining us coming up in about 10 minutes from now. And part of the reason why he's joining us is because it's NFL Combine Week. And I don't get too involved in the 40 times and all the metrics and the measurables, because at the end of the day, I've seen plenty of guys look good in what we call the underwear Olympics. But I know that in reality that they're not the best football players. And so for the Eagles, I think that they are much more focused, according to people who cover the team. They say the Eagles' focus is on the interviews for a week like this. It's not about guys running around in tights. And when you look at the guys that could be in this draft, there's one name that I think is interesting. And Mike Gill brought up about an hour ago with Rick Saratella from NFL Bible and SI. And that is Jalen Carter. We know that this Eagles organization since 2016 has put a heavy priority on character and quality human beings more than almost anything else. If Jalen Carter, because of the situation going on with the racing and everything that happened down in Georgia. If Jalen Carter falls to the Eagles at 10, do you take him? You, the Eagles fan, listening to the sound of my voice on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, you tell me. Listen, Jalen Carter is one of the two best talents in this draft. It literally comes down to, do you prefer Carter or Will Anderson from Alabama? So with Carter, if he falls to you, isn't Laramie Tunsil being caught on film, smoking weed, using a hookah? It's not that. This is not somebody, ran afoul of somebody at a nightclub and there might have been a scuffle. This is a young man who, according to reports, depending on who you want to listen to and believe, could potentially have some serious issues ahead of him. And this is not the first time that he has gotten in trouble for speeding. This is not the first time that he has been in trouble with the law driving his car. Now, this time, it involved a situation where people died, not because of him, but according to reports, he was there. He was not somewhere else. He was racing that night. So, does that mean that we look at Jalen Carter differently? Because he would be a great replacement if you lose Fletcher Cox, which you probably will in free agency. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973 says, Josh, do you think the Eagles will stand with their 2 picks in the first round, or will they try to move up or down in the draft? That's from Jeff in Ocean City on the text board. I tend to think that the Eagles are going to keep the 10th pick, and they might move up or down with the second first-round pick. I think the Eagles like the fact that where they are sitting, they can basically force the draft to come to them. They can force whatever happens ahead of them, any type of chaos, any type of situations that may happen. They can create a environment that causes, let everyone else do chaos, everyone else get crazy. Now, if someone calls you and offers you a good deal to move down, you should take it. But I personally think that in a draft like this, where that there's probably going to be at least 3 quarterbacks taken in the top 10, that pushes everyone down the list. And depending on your stance on Jalen Carter or some of these other guys, there should be a really, really good player available to you at 10 that you're not going to get if you trade out of the top 10. So my gut instinct, Jeff in Ocean City, is to say that the Eagles are probably going to keep the first pick. And if they trade any pick, then they might move down or up, depending on the deal. Because with the Eagles near the back of the first round, and don't forget Miami doesn't have their first round pick because of the Brady fiasco, you could argue that the Eagles can let the draft come to them. They don't have to be the aggressor. They can be the people that benefit from everything else happening around them. We'll get more of your text a little bit later this hour. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Your DMs in the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Coming up next, we'll talk with Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowl linebacker, over 11 years in the NFL. KJ Wright joins us next here on 973 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, hanging out with you on a Friday night.
Sunday on ESPN Radio.
Bounces it off the glass, flushed by Davis.
Both the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors are fighting for a spot in the postseason, and they go head-to-head in L.A. this weekend.
Outside Thompson for three. It's good. Are you kidding?
The Golden State Warriors at the Los Angeles Lakers. Coverage begins Sunday at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
It's the NBA on 97.3 ESPN.
Imagine all the possibilities of a 167 million Mega Millions win. You could build your forever home, buy a new luxury car, plus one for all of your friends and family. It's just that many millions. Anything can happen in Jersey.
At the Home Depot, we know the world is a messy place. Keeping it clean takes science. That's why businesses everywhere have long trusted cleaning products from Ecolab to take on the toughest messes. And now, that level of clean is available for your home. Introducing Ecolab Scientific Clean, a full line of professional-grade cleaning products for all your home's needs, so you can clean like you mean business. Now available exclusively at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
If you're looking to get a new car, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Sure, you love your old car, but you know it's not normal to give instructions on how to open the window. It should be self-explanatory, but it's not. And notice how when you're in other people's cars, you can feel cushion in the seats? That's pretty nice, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renters and car insurance with Progressive and put the savings toward a new car. It's time. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingarone, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign. Well, signs. To try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
Ends 4/15.
Hey, big guy. Simple credibility approval.
Listen, big guy, try this. Give them more cash for their clunker. That was my idea.
Why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down? So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia. Because if you have a job clearing $350 per week, Matt Blatt Kia wants to up you, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow with peace of mind. Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Rate qualifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand finance stock in stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 3/3/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
You're listening to Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Let's talk some more NFL now. Super Bowl champion, played in the NFL for over a decade. Most of his time with the Seattle Seahawks. That's KJ Wright. Joins us right now with the NFL Draft Combine going on, the NFL offseason. The NFL never sleeps, as KJ knows. He joins us right now on the phone here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. KJ, welcome in. How you doing today?
Good afternoon, fellas. Doing well. How y'all doing?
Doing pretty good. So, talk to me about, you know what it's like to go from college to the NFL. So for you, what was the biggest deal about making that transition?
I mean, well, when you do go from college to the NFL, when you go to the combine, are you talking about the combine or just going to the NFL?
The whole process. Give the audience an insight on how, like, is your life totally changed?
It does, and it's your first real job interview. I mean, you've been dreaming of going to this moment your entire life, watching it in high school, watching it in college, and here you are with the best of the best in front of GMs, in front of scouts, in front of head coaches. You really have to sell yourself to be the number one overall draft pick in the NFL, and so it's a combination of you're very excited for this moment, you've been dreaming of it, but you best believe there's a nerve-wracking side to it as well because you have to keep they want to see your football IQ, they want to see how fast you are, they want to see how strong you are. You're literally performing to show your value when it comes to being an NFL player, and so it's quite the experience. I had a great time when I did it. It was way too late with the number 99 overall pick. It was way too late to be way higher, but it's neither here nor there. But it was fun, and so for these guys to come out there, compete against the best, showcase their skills, I'm sure they're enjoying it as well.
We know for a lot of NFL teams, they value the interview process the most at the combine. What is that like for a young man such as yourself when you were coming out of Mississippi State and now have these guys basically grilling you?
You know what? It is funny because when you walk into the room, it's a dark room. There's about 20 people in there from the coaches to the defensive coordinator. They are literally grilling you with questions. Why do you love football? Why do you play this game? What motivates you? Who's your girlfriend in middle school? Like, it's just all kinds of, they're literally all over the place. And so it can get intense. It can get, challenging. They put me on the chalkboard. The Houston Texans literally drew up their whole defense, put it on chalkboard, and they handed me a marker and said, "Teach me what I just taught you." And so it can get intense, but they just want to see your personality, see if you sweat or fold under pressure, or do you make light of the situation. And so I had a good time with my interviews, and it was definitely quite the experience.
Now, for those who don't know, you were drafted back in 2011. So talk to the audience because you just finished playing very recently, just a couple of years ago. So what was the biggest difference for you coming into the NFL as a linebacker to what linebacker play is today? Like, what are the variables? What are the differences?
When I came in 2011, and think about my division I was in, I was playing Frank Gore in the San Francisco 49ers, Steven Jackson with the St. Louis Rams. So you best believe it was downhill gridiron football. And, they're running the ball 25 to 30 plus times a game. So they wanted those linebackers that could take on offensive linemen, take on fullbacks, and, tackle those big running backs I had to tackle back in my early days. But then the game started evolving. You started seeing, Patrick Mahomes coming on the scene. Josh Allen is a quarterback now. And these teams are airing the ball downfield. And so when you look at these scouts and the GM, they're looking for linebackers that can move. They are looking for pure speed. And they're saying we can give up some size when it comes to the run game because this is a pass-heavy league right now. And so that's what they're scouting for. They want to see how guys move with their hips, go one way, change your direction, go another way. And so that's what they're looking for. And so the value of the linebackers is starting to decrease. They're starting to convert these safeties. It's pretty disgusting. They're starting to convert these safeties and put them at linebacker. And so that's the name of the game right now. And hopefully, as time goes along, the game will come back to just old school football, which I played in my first few years.
Here in Philadelphia, we had a very interesting linebacker situation last year. And part of the reason why I wanted to ask you about the linebacker position is because TJ Edwards was a guy when he came out of college, was an undrafted free agent, but he was at Wisconsin where it was just downhill smash mouth. And in Philadelphia, he had to evolve from that into being a well-rounded linebacker. What is your perspective on a guy like him? Because there's a lot of Eagle fans who are worried that they might lose him in free agency.
He's probably, if you guys don't show him the money, he's going to be gone. I actually went and watched film on him earlier today, and I watched him versus the Titans, and he's just such an instinctive linebacker. He plays loose, he plays free, takes the proper angles, tackles well, and so he's one of my favorites when it comes to linebackers in this league. And so when you look at Sean Desai, you guys' new defensive coordinator, he's going to be a guy that kind of fits TJ's skill set. He's going to be right there in the middle. He's going to cover him up with those big three techniques right in front of him, and he just has to flow, rock and roll, and just find the football. And so He is one of my favorite linebackers in this league. And if Philadelphia doesn't show him the money, I know that Seattle, and where I'm at right now, could use a linebacker or two.
It's interesting you mentioned about the money because you mentioned before linebackers looked at differently. So if a guy like TJ Edwards, if he gets to the free agent market, what kind of attention do you think he can really get in a league that, as you mentioned earlier, they don't look at the linebacker the same way when you came in the league?
Yeah, because here's the thing. It goes in waves. It's going to be the quarterbacks get their big money, defensive ends get their big money, offensive linemen. And then once that wave goes by, then, okay, let's start really plugging in our pieces to what we are really looking for in our team. And so linebackers are getting paid. You see what Fred Warner's getting. You see what Milano's getting over there in Buffalo. And so I believe he's earned a pretty penny. Just went to the Super Bowl. And so teams want that success. Teams want that leadership that he's going to bring to the table. And so we're looking at north of, double digits, around 10 to 12 a year annually. And may have to be incentivized. You play well, you get paid well. And so he's definitely a high caliber linebacker and leading this draft class, or leading this free agent class.
We're talking with KJ Wright, Super Bowl champion here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at KJ_Wright34 over there on the Twitterverse. KJ, you mentioned about guys making money. Obviously, one guy is going to get paid, we know for sure, is Jalen Hurts. What is your perspective on him? Because he's a guy that before this year, there were a lot of doubters, and I think it's safe to say that he made a lot of people shut up this year.
He did. And I played Jalen my last year when I was with Vegas, and I looked at him and I was like, I didn't, when I watched him on film, I was like, okay, he's a guy that can run, but he's a guy that can really be dynamic. Can he really open up an offense? And when I saw what he put together this year, this man is real. I mean, runner up for the MVP, a guy that can beat you with his arms down the field, can beat you with his legs. And he is the focal point of this offense. And so, and then when you watch him when he does his interviews, just a man of true character. He doesn't sweat. He's a guy that you want to lead your franchise for the next 6 to 8 years. And so I would trust him with every penny that comes his way. He's hungry to get back to the Super Bowl and bring Philadelphia another championship. And so the sky's the limit for his career. And once you solidify him, just continue to build around him, he's going to be even better.
KJ, I want to ask you, because you played in the league, and I want your perspective on this, because one of the conversations we've had here on 97.3 ESPN was people like me liked Hurts because of the intangibles. And people used to tell me, like, oh, I cared too much about the intangibles. And I'm almost wondering, because you look at the two men who played in the biggest game of the year, Mahomes versus Hurts. They both are talented. They're both really good. But they're both quality human beings. Do we as a sports fandom not value the character of these men enough?
You cannot look past that. I mean, because when you're teammates with guys with low character, that lowers the morale in the locker room. When you see a guy that's going out there doing this, doing that, always in the news on the bottom line of the ticker, that just brings down the culture in the locker room. That brings down the culture of the franchise. And so when you do have a guy at your quarterback that you can trust that will represent your brand like no other, you cannot put a price tag on that. And I played in Seattle for a decade. Wasn't the most talented, wasn't the most gifted guy, but I was a leader in the locker room. I helped guys achieve goals that they wanted to get. I was great in the community. And so all this stuff goes a long way. And so can you make tackles? Can you get interceptions? Yes. What else are you doing for our team? And so you can't look past that. I love Jalen. I love Mahomes because they elevate the brand of the football teams that they're on.
I'm glad you said that, because, one of the things that the Eagles have been kind of given the side eye about is they have gone out of their way since 2016, since Howie Roseman was, quote unquote, brought out of the broom closet to be GM again. They prioritized the locker room, the quality of the people, the character of the people on the team. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the teams that usually have the good character guys are the ones getting to the biggest game each year.
Absolutely. And I played, like I said, I played in Seattle for a decade. We went through some streaks in there where we had some bad apples in the bunch, and where we had to trade guys, where we had, teammates fighting each other, where the dynamic of the guys in the locker room wasn't the best. And so you got to get those guys out of there, and you got to bring in the right guys to gel well. Just because you're on a football team doesn't mean that everyone likes each other, but you want to bring guys that respect each other, that values each other. And so that does go a long way. And when I did win my Super Bowl, I can look at each and every guy on that football team, and I can say, this is my brother for life. I love this guy. I respect him. But if you go to some other teams, during my tenure, I'm like, oh, this guy was a meathead. This guy had no business on our football team. Hey, can you trade this guy, please, John Snyder? And so, I do like the way that the Eagles team is built, and there's no reason why they're in the Super Bowl again this year.
For the audience who only sees him on TV, tell everybody what it's like to play for Pete Carroll.
He's the man. I mean, I just love everything about him. Just was with him since my rookie year. He taught me my first life lesson when it came to competition. When I first got drafted, the first thing I did was I went to the internet and I looked at, man, who spot do I need to take? Who do I need to worry about? And the first thing he taught me when I came on the scene was like, you're competing against yourself. The man in the mirror, the one that you're looking at, how early can you wake up? How well can you take care of your body? That's the man you're competing against. And just over the years, he understood it off of the football field. We were always looking at stuff that was going on in the world, during the Black Lives Matter movement. He understood what we were going through. And on game day, he was just fun to play with. He let us be ourselves. And when you look at that time when we were there, we were probably the most exciting and fun team to watch in football. And so he's not slowing down yet. He's just getting started. And I believe for the next 3 or 4 years, Coach Carroll's going to be doing it.
You mentioned about the quality of the person he was and things. Here in Philadelphia, Nick Sirianni has been a little criticized by people about how over the top he is about things, but the players really buy into him. Is sometimes the outside perception, it's like, perception becomes reality, right? People perceive something, it becomes reality. But in the locker room, that's really what matters, right? It's about the players buying into the guys, not about, the regular guy sitting and watching the game saying, why is Sirianni cursing out the ref?
Absolutely. And that's what Coach Carroll always said. He said, the guys in this locker room are what matters. If you guys believe in this message, you guys believe what you can do as a football team, then we'll be A-OK. And there were times, I'm going to be honest, there were times when we're in Seattle, say something, we're like, oh, what are you talking about, Coach? We don't need to do it that way. But we kept everything in-house. Rule number 1 is protect the team. Don't let stuff out of this building creep into what we have going on. Let's handle stuff in-house. And so we did a phenomenal job of that, of just protecting one another, talking as men. We always didn't get along, but we communicated, we respected each other, and we all got on the same page at the end of the day.
This NFL offseason, what is KJ Wright's favorite NFL storyline that you are watching?
Oh, of course, Lamar Jackson. I mean, where does he end up? I hope it's the Atlanta Falcons. We can see that he's not budging on his end with a contract. The Baltimore Ravens are not to budge on their end. And so the franchise tag is definitely coming his way. And I believe he's worth 2 to 3 first-round draft picks. The man is just playing against some of the fastest and the most dynamic guy I've ever stepped foot on the football field with. And so he's definitely probably not going to be a Baltimore Raven. So I'm very intrigued to see where he ends up.
Where do you think he should end up? Like, if you had control of Lamar's destiny in your hands?
I say if I was Lamar, then I would want to go to the Atlanta Falcons. Just when you look at that offense, it fits everything that he wants to do. They have the run game. They have the tight end. His Mark Andrews will now be Kyle Pitts. He has the number 1 receiver in Drake London. And his play caller is going to find a way with Coach Smith to maximize what he does well. And so, he always has gotten questioned about his arm talent, his accuracy. And, he just needs to shut all this stuff up going forward this season. And so, phenomenal player, phenomenal guy, when I see him doing his interviews. And so if he does get to Atlanta and we have a Michael Vick 2.0, that's going to be fun to see.
It's interesting because, most people don't know that they ran pro-style concepts at Louisville with him at quarterback.
Yeah.
He wasn't just some run option or some, like a wishbone or something out there at quarterback. Like, he was legitimately being told to do things you do in the pro game. And I just don't understand, KJ, why a team like Baltimore was so negligent in putting the best talent around him. I just feel like they asked him to do way too much.
And that's why we saw him get injured. That's why you saw his last 2 years, he missed, the last few games. And how do you not give him a number one receiver? How do you not give him a guy that can just take over a football game? He did not have that his entire career. He had an outstanding tight end. He had outstanding legs when he had to run for his life majority of the time. And so, like you said, very negligent with how they handle building around him. And so I'm sure he is frustrated. I'm sure he is looking like, hey, I do need to get to an offense that could really maximize what I do well. And so I do believe that they can't find the dollars to make sense for him, then just trade him, get your first round draft picks, and start rebuilding your franchise.
One more for KJ right before we let him go here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. KJ, I want to know from your perspective, you look around the NFL, the state of the quarterback position. Obviously, it's a popular topic for a lot of fans. They love jousting back and forth. We all know Mahomes is the best, but how do you rank guys after that?
Well, let me say this. There are tiers to quarterbacks. There are tiers. And when you talk about when Mahomes, when you talk about when I played Tom Brady at his peak of his career, they just separate themselves from the rest of the guys. I played Kirk Cousins. I played Eli. I played Phillip Rivers. What Mahomes and what Brady brought to the table, two of the best guys I ever played against, it's just their presence on the football field just stands out from the rest of those guys. No matter what the situation is, no matter what the score is, these guys are always a threat to take over a game and find a way to win it. Just that clutch bone that those two guys have, just that clutch DNA, they're never wavered. There's no coverage that they haven't seen. And when that ball is snapped and the ball is in their hands, they know that they have a chance to win the football game. And so, in my experience, it's Tom Brady, Mahomes, and everyone else. And I don't put Aaron Rodgers in that category, because when you talk about morale in the locker room, when you talk about vibing with your teammates, I don't put Aaron Rodgers up there. And so Tom Brady and Patty Mahomes, those are the top two guys.
You can follow him over on Twitter at KJ_Wright34. KJ Wright, Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks, and he joined us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. KJ, great stuff today. Appreciate you jumping on.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Of course, our conversation with KJ Wright being brought to you by my friends over at Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy, because Jenkins technicians have got you covered. 609-641-6440. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, gas furnaces, leak repairs, and more. Just call 609-641-6440 and ask about their zero interest-free financing. Visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. All right, I got texts from Jeff in Summers Point, David over in Vineland, your messages and more coming up next here on the Power Hour, also known as Game Night, with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Shoots it from 12 and it's in. Tough shot with that foul right there.
The Sixers are in Milwaukee to face the Bucks tomorrow. Coverage begins at 8:30. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Imagine all the possibilities of a 167 million Mega Millions win. You could build your forever home, buy a new luxury car, plus one for all of your friends and family. It's just that many millions. Anything can happen in Jersey.
Like bones, your teeth lose density and become weaker over time, which can lead to tooth decay. And that can make your visit to the dentist feel like this. But if you want your dental visit to feel like this, try Crest Densify. Crest Densify actively rebuilds tooth density to extend the life of teeth by remineralizing enamel. Densify from Crest, the #1 toothpaste brand in America. Smile, Crest has you covered.
Hey, sports fans, it's JR with JRWins.com. And guys, I couldn't be more excited about this big matchup going down tonight. We're talking about Miami, New York, and I'm leaving this winner right now for free on my famous 30-second message. Call this number right now for the point spread winner of Miami, New York. 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733. Call now, 800-499-FREE. Get the point spread winner of Miami, New York. Guys, I'm telling you now, the point spread on this game will not be close. Arm yourself to the teeth with the best information by far in the market. I'm documented number one for a reason, and I'll prove it tonight with this huge point spread winner between Miami and New York. Get it free now by listening to a short recorded message. Call 800-499-3733. That's 800-499-3733.
Hello there. My name is Seychelle, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the punch of flavors that's unlike any other. You get the crispy tenderness of the chicken and that hint of sourness from the pickles. Ta-da!
Hey, I'm Juan, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is you're going to get chicken that's crispy, golden, and juicy. This is the gold standard of chicken sandwiches.
Order the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real customers paid for their testimonials.
Businesses don't run on automation or algorithms alone. What powers businesses are your people and the people they serve. At Cintas, your dedicated service reps understand what you need to help you keep your employees feeling safe, comfortable, and performing their best. So your business can too. For workwear, essential cleaning products, first aid and safety supplies, and fire protection services, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
And now, a poem for all you lovebirds out there. Getting down on getting down. Some cars are red, others are blue. Trade in your old car and drive something new. Fall in love with your new Nissan at Matt Blatt Nissan with 0% financing for 36 months, 0 payments for 45 days, and 0 money down.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
So bring any trade because AJ, the trade man, wants to buy your vehicle today, regardless of the make, miles, or condition. AJ pays cash. Then treat yourself to a brand new Nissan Altima, Pathfinder, or Rogue, all with 0 down, 0 payments, 0 interest. And only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credit $27.78 per thousand. Finance on in-stock 2023 Rogues. Pathfinder Ultima. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. VIN PC 739900. Rogue S. MSRP 31,185. Doc 589. Sell price 31,774. Expires 3/3/23. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township.
What do you mean he went searching for fresher powder? We have full classes today.
Instructor down at Vesper Ski School.
Support each other to snowplow, honey, not away.
She needs more ski instructors to slalom through the day-to-day.
Pizza, fries. Whoa, Braley, no, pizza.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign. Well, signs. To try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
Ends 4/15. Visit staplesconnect.com/printbig for details.
Homeowners trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Business owners trust Jenkins too for light commercial services. No need to call the drain guy, heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins, one call does it all. For new heating, air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services. Call now and learn about rebates through the HVAC Energy Efficiency Program brought to you by South Jersey Gas. Call 609-641-6262 or visit JenkinsandSons.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
On the air for you guys out there at 29403-4973 on 4:8 p.m. in the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how great stuff from KJ right there. I love when he talked about how, some of these guys, he called it disgusting. They're turning these safeties into into linebackers. And it's an interesting perspective because as someone like KJ, who was a large size linebacker, he was 6'4". He was not one of these, Mike Singletary was barely 6'1", right? You had guys like London Fletcher who was 5'10", 5'11". KJ was a tall, long, and big, athletic linebacker. He was saying that, hey, they're trying to turn these safeties into linebackers. The linebacker can't cover. He says the game he thinks is going to come full circle. And I told you guys this past year that we saw a rise in defense getting better this year than in the years past. Maybe he is right. Maybe the linebacker is going to become a part of the team moving forward. You heard how highly he spoke at TJ Edwards. That's a guy in AJ Wright. I mean, that guy won a Super Bowl, and he played on a defense with Bobby Wagner. He knows aside from playing position, he played with a really good one himself. Bobby Wagner's probably going to the Hall of Fame. Go to the text board 609-403-0970. David in Vineland chimes in and says, I would absolutely take Jalen Carter. Hopefully, one of the Eagles' vets gives this kid some much needed guidance. He will be dealing with that tragedy every day of his life, and hopefully, he has learned from it. He's still going to play in the NFL next year. Don't skip over the talent. That's David in Vineland. I hear what you're saying, David. It's just the reason I'm asking because depending on whose report you go by, there's speculation that he gave wavering narratives to the police, that his series of events that happened that night changed. Well, not changed. I guess that's too aggressive. It varied from interview to interview, certain details. And so, was that because he couldn't remember what he said the first time round? Was it because he was trying to change the story to benefit him moving forward? There's a lot of questions about, those situations. You mentioned he is a young man. So how much of this was just, impacting him in a way that he just couldn't think straight? So many questions I have about it. You're right, though. He is an elite NFL talent. And I don't think it is crazy to think that this incident could knock him down the draft board for a couple reasons. One, because teams do it all the time. All the time. Teams look at players and they judge them in a way that can be unfair. And in a draft where outside of the Bears, who are the first overall pick, and they're going to probably trade down to get out of that first pick, according to many reports. If he gets past the Bears, let's say, he could keep dropping. Because after the Bears, the only other team in that top of the draft that legitimately needs a defensive lineman is probably KJ Wright's former team, the Seattle Seahawks. And we're not fully sure what Seattle is going to do because they have a few different needs. There's speculation that they could go maybe get an offensive lineman with that pick. They could go out and get an edge rusher with that pick. Will Anderson is a guy that I think very highly of. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Is he somebody that Seattle says, if he falls to Seattle, do they pick him over Jalen Carter? And then at that point, you got Detroit, you got the Raiders, you got the Falcons, and you got the Panthers. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Carter could fall if he drops past a certain point. Listen, I agree with David and Violent, but I know there are Eagle fans out there who look at a guy with that kind of legal issue. It's not apples to apples every scenario. What happened to Laramie Tunsil is nothing like what's happening with Jalen Carter. And what's happening with Jalen Carter is nothing like what happened, just to use a very extreme example, like Chad Kelly, the former Ole Miss quarterback in college. All these different players had different situations that impacted how you looked at them, how they looked at themselves, how they prepared for the draft, they prepared for the NFL. So, I think that Jalen Carter, if he's going to be drafted by a team, why not the Eagles? You already have two players from Georgia on the team in Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. You have strong veterans. If you bring back Brandon Graham, for example, if you keep around certain other players, maybe you bring in another veteran. Maybe it's something where you turn to a Linval Joseph or an Ndamukong Suh, and after you draft Jalen Carter, say to them, look, we really want you to come back. We want you to take this guy under your wing. We'll give you a 1-year deal. You don't have to, go full steam ahead in training camp. You can skip the OTAs, do whatever you got to do as a veteran. We trust you. We saw you do it last year. Because I told you guys before, I think Fletcher's gone. I think Fletcher ends up in Cleveland. It keeps being my instinct because of Jim Schwartz being over there. Jeff from Summers Point chimes in on the text board at 609-403-0973. 0973 says, Josh, here's a random thought for you. Why not bring back Foles as a veteran backup behind Hurts? Let Minshew go. It's just a thought. Foles has said he wants to retire in Philly. The problem with Foles is that I'm having trouble deciding if he just doesn't have it anymore or if he's just been in some bad situations. Last year, if you were listening throughout the year to me and Rob Motti, we were saying that the Colts should have gone to Nick Foles earlier in the year than they did. When they finally went to him, he just was a mess. I mean, he had trouble, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. And again, I don't know if that was the offense. I don't know if that was him. I don't know if that was Jeff Saturday. I don't know if that was just a fractured locker room. The 2 years he was in Chicago, the 1 year he played fine, but that was during the COVID with the nobody in the stands and all the weird stuff that was going on and the players and all kinds of issues. So it's really hard to know, did Foles play well? Did he not play well? Last year he barely played at all in Chicago. Of course, that year in Jacksonville when he got injured. So there's a lot of questions about what exactly is Nick Foles at this point. He's going to be he's already 34 years old. Okay, so he's already 34 years old. I mean, I would bring him in the camp just to see if he has any left in the tank. I know the Eagles really like Ian Book. They really think very highly of him as a backup. So there's a strong possibility that Ian Book is probably your backup quarterback next year. Listen, I'm with you, Jeff, from Summers Point. I am a big believer in veteran players. I believe veteran players are a huge part of a team's success. So I would let Minshew go because I think Minshew is going to get a massive contract. And you don't have to bring Foles in to explicitly be the backup quarterback. You could bring Foles in just to see what he has left in the tank, see how preseason goes, and then move on from there. I think that's certainly a possibility, a way to handle it moving forward. But it's an interesting thought. I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand. By the way, I will confirm that Jeff from Summers Point and Jeff from Ocean City are spelled differently. Jeff in Ocean City's got the G. Jeff at Summers Point has the J at the beginning of his name. I won't be getting confused about who's who here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks again to Super Bowl champion KJ Wright for joining us earlier in the show. Of course, coming up, it is the weekend. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Sixers basketball tomorrow night on 97.3 ESPN. Flyers hockey on Sunday. Flyers are dumpster fire. They're a disgrace. I'm sure I'll be talking with Billy Schwein in the locker room tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN about the Flyers. Billy, 10 a.m. to noon. The locker room, Saturday, Sunday, 97.3 ESPN.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein, three-time All-Big Ten linebacker Brad Quast joins me in the studio. We'll examine what's wrong with the Flyers and Sixers. The sportsbook consigliere Dave Sharapan checks in from Las Vegas with his insights. During the show, we'll be giving away tickets to this year's MAC basketball tournament at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. Who will be this year's Cinderella? Tune in to win. All that and more. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.